Everybody, my name is Elliotte. I'm the Vice President of Marketing at Sourcebits, and we are a mobile app development company that works with clients that everyone from an entrepreneur who has an idea and no idea how to turn it into a mobile app, all the way up to an enterprise company that doesn't want to hire an internal team to build a new mobile product. So at Sourcebits, we've actually built more than 500 products for companies around the world and a number of our own applications. We've had more than 30 of them actually hit the top of the charts. And we've actually had a variety of successes with our clients. And it really comes down to what makes a great app development partner. And it really depends on who you are and who they are, of course. But there are 6 key aspects to evaluating developers when you're looking for help. So I'll introduce you to those aspects and then talk about a different development business model that we've created at Sourcebits from our 7+ years of experience in the market. And then I'm going to give you an exclusive sneak peek at an app that we have co-founded that we'll be launching later this year. So you know you need a development partner when you have an app idea but you have no idea how to make it. You've made a basic MVP, but now you need to put the big pants on and go to launch. You can't or don't want to hire an internal group of employees. The space is very competitive for engineer talent, and or you need a lot of help fast. So hiring 1 or 2 guys is going to take more time than hiring a full team. So if you need to go to market quickly, it often is beneficial and less expensive to hire a development shop. And finally, what we hope happens here for you guys is that you get funding at Launch Festival, and it's time to take your app to the next level. So you have some money and you want to use that for a development partner. So now that we're on the same page, let's talk about the triangle that you face. So we're going to assume that you're not making a cookie cutter app, and that it isn't something that could just be done with a generic development tool that's on the market. We acknowledge that those are there and they're great for MVPs, but you want something more custom. So let's also assume that you have some money to spend and a window of about 3 to 6 months to get the work done. You could do it faster, although the faster you want something and you still want it to be good, the more you're going to spend because of the triangle of cheap, fast, and good. So you need to decide on your priorities here, because fast and cheap will lead you to a very different development partner than fast and good. And if you want something good, a good amount of money generally has to be spent. It is very much the case that what you put in is what you will get out, and you get what you pay for in mobile apps. So if you're going to do good and cheap, then you're usually building the app yourself, which is great. And if you're good at that, come talk to us, because we are hiring mobile app developers all the time. But it's often in your spare time. Or you have convinced a friend to build it for you, and they're invariably slow unless they have equity in your company. But I'm not going to cover how to convince your friends to build a mobile app for you by paying them in pizza and beer. Instead, I'm going to talk about how to handle processing the development partners that are available, and there are hundreds of them around the world. And you have to look at the cost, quality, and timelines for the project that you have. And when you're looking for an app partner, there's so much on the line that making that decision can be really, really difficult. It's probably one of the bigger hires that you're going to make if you go with an outsourced team. So where do you begin? How do you start shopping to find that best developer? And of course, the first thing that always comes to mind is money. And we know that your budget is going to serve as a major filter when you're working with development partners. So some shops will work on a fixed cost system, while others will charge an hourly rate for time and materials. And they both have their pros and cons, so it really depends on what you're looking for. A fixed cost means that you know exactly how much you're going to pay and exactly what you will get for that money. But the problem is that is exactly and only what you will get unless you have a number of modifications. So it really limits you through the development process of that scope of work. And so if you have something that you need to change, you will constantly hear, well, no, that's not in the contract, or we need to renegotiate, or we need to add the cost. On the other side, there's the hourly rate of time and materials, and so there's a lot of flexibility in the design and development process because you're just paying for them to make the things that you want. But, of course, changing features and functions or an entire product pivot can, in fact, sometimes cost more money. There is the slim chance that you could actually come out under budget, but that rarely happens because you guys have great ideas and you want to pivot or change it or expand. And so it's just a matter of thinking about what kind of model you want when you're looking at your development partners and what they offer. So depending on what your needs are, you may want to spend more or less or work in a fixed model or a time and materials. So the next part is really thinking about the ballpark of your budget. And those investment ranges will vary, but it's important to keep in mind that you get what you pay for. So you need to look at the typical ballpark of the development shops that you're looking at. A company that typically makes a $5,000 app is not going to deliver something when you have a $50,000 or $100,000 idea in mind, and vice versa. So because those projects vary so much, and each app is unique, we hope you have really unique ideas here at launch, it's best to draft a very simple summary of what you're looking to build. Don't give away the details, keep it to a top-level concept, and keep your summary as consistent as possible between those shops so that when they give you back an estimate, you're getting an apples-to-apples comparison. You don't want to give one company way more details than another so that the budget estimates are really skewed. But keep in mind that those are estimates and the final costs will vary. And then contact those interesting development partners to get a ballpark on how much they will charge. They will probably want to have a phone call with you and maybe even an in-person meeting to talk more details. But before you get to that, before you're sending out these ballparks, how do you figure out what companies you're actually going to send your description to get an estimate? Money is really important, and we get that, and it probably comes down to a bottom line for a lot of you, but there are so many other intangible things to decide, especially when the same amount of money could go to 3 or 4 different places. So the other things to consider are really important when you make this decision because you want your money to go to the best possible fit. So the first thing to really think about is what kinds of help do you need? So, of course, we're talking about development partners, so you're going to need that design and development help, but custom integrations and using it on other platforms or back-end architecture, do you need those things? Are you looking at shops that can do that for you? You really want to make sure that you understand all of the design and development needs and the experiences that those teams have to make sure that you're talking to people who have the experience that you want. Maybe you want in-depth analytics, or you need business help. So great development partners could also help you beyond just the product, and you might find a partner that can go through the ideation process, that you're still trying to figure out some of the things that you need to hone in your product. You need to do A/B testing, you have a hypothesis that you need to test, and you want to be able to have a partner that is invested in your idea, not just in the product scope. So you may also need help with a pivot or your launch marketing. So depending on what you're needing, you really want to think about partners that might have multiple offerings beyond just design and development. So once you've done those things, you really want to kind of take a look at their talent and expertise. So are you actually impressed with their work? And how to do that is that you'll probably start with a Google search, and you'll look at various lists of vendor research sites, and Sourcing Line is one that's actually pretty useful. Be careful, some of those lists are just a pay for placement. But a credible one will often talk to the vendor and then conduct interviews with clients to really get a sense of what the experience is with working with that company. And then from the research and analyst search results, you'll have a list of developers to check out. So you're going to go to their website. You should definitely look at how they present themselves and really think about it from a UX experience, because if they're not selling themselves and giving you a great experience, then how is that going to impact their work? If they're not investing for themselves, then how would they deliver for you? Then you also want to look at their portfolios and galleries. This kind of goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's really important that you try out some of the apps that they've actually built. So I always recommend downloading at least 3 of them, even if you're not the target audience, to really look at the design, the user experience, the flow, and then think about look at the reviews and the ratings for those apps. And also look at the marketing coverage, like what are the media saying about the shop or about the apps that have been built. So once you've evaluated their experience and you think the portfolio is great, now you need to think about how you want to work. Now the world is flat, It's also hot and crowded, but it's flat. And so that means that you could talk to anybody and work with any partner, but you need to think about the logistics of where you are, where they are, if you want to be near them, if you want to work in person, or if you're totally fine using video conferencing and you never need to meet these people. It really varies. But if you have an app that is for a particular culture, maybe you want people who are in that culture to be invested in the design and development with you. So think about that. Know that most development shops have a hybrid model. We do at Sourcebits, where most of our team is, our designers are throughout the world. Our engineering team is pretty deeply in India, and we have our product managers here in the US. It can present a significant cost savings if that is a priority for you. But it may not be the way you want to operate, so it depends. So then, of course, is remembering the people factor. That, do you like these people that you're working with? Because they're going to be working with you for a while. So are they passionate about your idea? Are they invested in your success, or just their product, their bottom line? And is there mutual respect and consideration? And frankly, I always like to run the beer goggles test of whether I would go and have a beer with these people. And if I wouldn't have a beer with them, then I don't really want to spend the next 3 to 6 months working with them day in and day out to make my product. So don't ignore the people factor when you're really looking for a great app development partner. And finally, this is the zombies versus ninjas portion of the talk, where I'm not talking about a character in a game that you might want to build. I'm talking about the type of development partner you want to hire. So a zombie developer will build exactly what you want, but only that. They don't ask questions or enhance your product. They follow instructions, and they eat your brains. Which might be what you want, and that's okay, but that's not much of a partnership. So instead, I always prefer to work with ninjas. And ninjas will battle for success, and they might even fight me about some things, but it's because they are bringing their expertise and their care, and they want to help me win. So they'll ask me questions, they'll focus on the details, they'll challenge the product's features and functions, and they'll keep me focused on the big picture. And if I am playing a game with ninjas versus zombies, I personally think the ninja's going to win every time. So a quick summary of the things to consider are budget, available services, talent and experience, logistics, people, and finding a ninja versus a zombie. So real quickly about this ninja versus zombie approach, at Sourcebits, we actually created a product studios model, and this is a unique business model to development partnerships, where we actually serve as a co-founder for the company. In exchange for working at cost in our hybrid model, we take a percentage of equity, and we help build not just a great product that we are passionately invested in, but also all of the ecosystem around it for the business. So we'll put together the business plan, we'll help with investor funding, we will go through the ideation process and really create the friction, and then the brainstorming and the clarification on the product. We'll build a great product, and then we'll see it through for launch and beyond. And that's really unique. We're one of the few companies that does that from a development perspective. And we only pick 9 companies to do that with at any given time, because frankly, we're not making money while we're doing it. So you have to be successful for us to be successful. And in fact, Sourcebits has been doing this with one of our partners called Wandaki, and they are a game shop, and we have actually been working with them for over a year to design and develop a new mobile game called Never Ever, and it will launch later this year. And if you're at all interested in mobile gaming and have experience, we're hiring for that team too. So I will end this with a quick sneak peek at Never Ever.
Can you hear me? Who's got questions? I know you got some questions here. Great presentation, Elliotte.
Hi, thanks for your presentation. I'm Michael.
Hi. Hi.
Can you talk a little bit more about shared equity?
Sure. So we actually really believe that just like hiring a great internal hire that needs a percentage of equity in the company to really be invested in it, that we take the same approach. So the percentage of equity will vary depending on where the company stands in their existing funding. We go up to as high as 20% for a company that has like no funding, nothing exists, and we're going to really build it from scratch. But everything is kind of a discussion with each partner, It's a new approach, really. Like it's kind of a big deal for us to take no profit up until the company is actually successful. So we take on, we're not making any money for the time and team that we build.
And how long have you been doing this?
Sorry?
How long have you been doing this?
So we actually introduced the Product Studios model last year, and we have 5 partners in that model right now. We actually conduct, the way we actually find our partners is they come in for an ideation workshop. It's our innovation strategy workshop. And we do this with all of our clients, whether it's a work for hire or it's a Product Studios model, where we want to really believe in the success of that product and be invested in it. So we don't want to just come in and do just what you have said. We want to ask questions and make sure that it's going to be really fully evaluated and successful. So we do a one-day innovation workshop with our ideation team to create friction around the problem and then go through the brainstorming of solutions and then clarify that idea. And from that workshop, if you're interested in the work for hire, then the cost goes to the work for hire, and we can build it. And if you're interested in the Product Studios model, again, the cost goes towards that. But we build a whole company for you, not just a product.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Come to you in the back, sir.
Are there options for companies that are not able to pay at all, like totally bootstrapping?
You would need to talk to the CEO about that, but we have done some different business models in the past. I don't know that we currently have an option for like $0 spent, but we have in the past done a 50-50 where you might pay for part of it and then pay for the other part of it after success. But that is definitely something to talk to us about, and we're actually just down the stairs, and we're happy to have you come by and chat with us.
Any other questions?
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much, Elliotte.